Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day to you, and welcome to Bayou Sports Talk here down in the Bayou of Louisiana, baby. We have some good topics before us, so we're going to go ahead and dive in and let's holler at the panel. Ray, holler at them.
How y'all doing? What's up? It's Ray Swank 225 or King Ray. However y'all want to address me. The youngest of the bunch, just here to give, my takes and my opinions on the topics that we discussed today. So tune in for, another great show like always.
All right, coach. Holler at them, coach.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Boston community. Shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. This is me, Coach 67 Sports TV, also known as I Am Greatness. Hopefully y'all are blessed this afternoon. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing ride we put to bring y'all on. Yeah, dig.
All right, guys, let's start off with boxing. Coach, what do you have for us?
Well, we got quite a few topics in the sport of boxing. First and foremost, it is official. My favorite fighter, the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder. He gonna fight against Zilly Big Bang Zane in the Queensberry promotion versus the Matchroom 5-on-5. Yes, individuals. Hell has frozen over. Deontay Wilder has signed with Eddie Hearn. So it's gonna be a 5-on-5. Basically, that's the card. Wilder is gonna fight against Zhang, and we should have a pretty amazing card in that regard. In addition to that, Jerron Boots Ennis, he has officially signed with Matchroom Boxing also. So, Turkey Allah Sheikh, His Excellency, he's really shaking and moving in the sport of boxing. As a result, he's been able to pair up with like multiple promoters like Eddie Hearn. So we're gonna get a lot of great fights due to His Excellency. Also, Turkey Allah Sheikh, he's backing Terrence Crawford. So it's a possibility that we get Terrence Crawford versus Jerron Boots Ennis. Or Terrence Crawford is going to fight for another one of those junior middleweight titles. So either or Terrence Crawford, he's in position to get a bag. PBC, I'm pro-black. I promote black companies and black entrepreneurship. However, I'm going to just keep it real. I'm going to call a spade a spade. The PBC has been doing a terrible job, and the fact that they gave Canelo Alvarez so much money not to fight the best possible competition in the sport of boxing. Basically, them giving all the money they gave to Canelo, it's the reason why they're in the situation that they're in. And, Wilder, he working with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. Jerron Boots Ennis signed with Matchroom. Terrence Crawford, he's backed by His Excellency Turkey Allah Sheikh. So it's a lot going on in terms of His Excellency and Matchroom and so on and so forth. However, it is 420, 2 days before my G Day. But the big fight this evening is gonna be one of my favorite fighters, probably like my third favorite fighter, Devin the Dream Haney, against Ryan Garcia. And, King Ray, him and I was talking about it behind the scenes. Basically, Ryan Garcia is getting a 55-45 split in his favor. But the WBC title is not going to be on the line because Ryan Garcia, he's been having some wild and crazy antics. It's crazy. And it's obvious that he's off his rocket at this point. But he missed weight. He was 3 pounds over the junior welterweight limit. So the fight won't be for the WBC title. Seems as if he's been doing everything he could to kind of sabotage this fight. But even with that being said, basically, I'm looking for Devin Haney to put on a masterclass performance. And in addition to that, I think he's going to stop Ryan Garcia. So we'll see how things play out. Salute to my brother Big Joe Townsend. But more than anything, it's it's going to be an excellent masterclass performance, in my opinion, by Devin Haney. So we'll just see how things play out. What do you think, King Ray?
For me, yeah, I know that Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney made a bet for every pound that each one of them, was over by, that they got to pay the other, $500,000. So it looks like that Ryan Garcia,
1.5 mil.
yeah, 1.5 mil, because he was 3 pounds overweight. Um, Man, only thing I gotta say is, bro, if Devin Haney loses this fight, that would be like the most horrendous, funny, hilarious thing ever. Cause like this, mentally, Ryan Garcia ain't there. It seems physically he ain't there. Like he just not there. Like I even sent you the clip of he was like beatboxing and beating on the chair at one of the
Yeah.
interviews.
Yeah.
And Devin Haney is like, I don't know if Ryan is taking this fight serious or not, and stuff like that. So it's just I don't know what's up with the dude. And I mean it makes sense, not from a weight perspective. I mean, I know that's why that's why the belt is not on the line, is because he missed weight. But I feel like the main reason that it's important that the belt not is on the line, because I don't think Ryan Garcia, if he were, theoretically speaking, if he were to win the belt, he wouldn't be a trustworthy champion. Like, it would be similar to, like, even though this person who I'm about to refer to is a very great fighter, but like almost like John Jones. He's a great champion, a great fighter, but how many times John Jones had to be suspended from the UFC for doing coke and stuff like that? So it's like I almost kind of view it the same way with Ryan Garcia. Like, how many episodes would he have as a champion where you got to constantly strip the belt from this dude? So, but I mean, even with Ryan Garcia, I feel like this is a fight. It's different from when he fought Tank, because he was in his right mind. So at least we got like a good fight. I feel like Ryan Garcia, with what he's been dealing with, I don't know if it's fully him. I feel like we're not gonna get the fight that we really is hoping for, that we were really hoping for. You're not gonna get that competitive fight that I think we all wanted to see. I think it's gonna be real lopsided. So yeah, I'm looking for Devin Haney to just put on a master class, like you said.
Well, just to kind of rebuttal what you were saying, you have to realize, someone that's in the field of education, I'm a coach, I'm a teacher. Bro, a lot of times when people are thrown off, like they're extremely strong. So I think that's one thing we have to kind of take into consideration. For one, that's first of all. Second of all, not only is the fact that Ryan Garcia, the fact that he's thrown off, those individuals tend to be extremely strong, but the two have like extensive history. They fought multiple times in the amateurs. However, just studying their amateur fights, it seems as if Ryan Garcia is kind of still stuck where he was from an amateur standpoint, whereas Devin Haney has progressed over the years. So you can see the progression in Devin Haney, whereas Ryan Garcia seems like he's still stuck. And the last point I want to bring out, this, I think to a certain degree, I think Ryan Garcia, with his mental health issues, I don't think he consciously made an effort to get out the fight. But you got to realize he's ducked Devin Haney in the past. When Devin Haney was WBC champion at 135, Ryan Garcia fought to become the mandatory. And once he became the mandatory, he was like, "Oh, I don't want to fight Devin Haney. I want to fight Tank." And my point is, like, why would you fight for the interim title to be the number one contender? So to just deduct the eventual fight. So at the end of the day, Ryan Garcia, I think had the split not been in his favor, I don't think he would have taken that fight had it been a 50-50 split. So it goes to show you that Devin Haney, he's willing to take the B-side money, whether it's in a lousy deal against George Kambosos, whatever the case may be, he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the fight in the ring. And I appreciate that about him. He's a true champion. And salute to my brother Jared 11 Green, Jay Barr, Big Red. Salute to y'all. We appreciate y'all love and support, Back to UK. Kingery, anything you want to add?
Oh, no.
Back to UK.
Okay, guys, let's go on to the NBA. What do you have for us, Ray?
Man, they got it done. They beat they. I ain't gonna say they beat the Sacramento Kings. They owned the Sacramento Kings. They beat them 6 times and have never lost to them this season. Like, it reminded me of the time when the Saints beat the Carolina Panthers 3 times in 1 year, twice during the regular season and once in the playoffs. So I mean, just an all around good team effort. Like, that's why the Pelicans is one of the most dangerous teams in the West. Because they have that depth. They have a bench. The bench won us the game against Sacramento. Um, so yeah, like, that was just a good team win. Valanciunas showed up. CJ didn't show up really much, but they didn't need CJ to show up. Trey Murphy did his thing. And I guess, like, I feel good because I rather the Pelicans. I rather us play OKC than us play Denver, and that kind of made me think, like, I'm gonna just say this, man. When Zion got hurt, like, on the play he got hurt, it didn't even look like he hurt anything. And I was watching Undisputed, and Skip Bayless was kind of hitting at this, like, he didn't say it, but he was kind of hinting at, like, hey, did this Zion intentionally go out the game? And they're like, was this a coordinated effort by the Pelicans to, like, you know intentionally lose this game? I'm not saying that they did, I'm not saying that they did, but you know how things may look, you'd rather not play Denver and then, but I'm not saying that Zion faked the injury because he's actually hurt. Because if that was the case, he would have played last night and he'll be definitely playing in the first couple of games of the series. But I like the matchup. I feel confident. We could get at least 2 games. And the reason why I say at least 2 games, I feel like, if this is a 6-game series, Zion could come back in the middle of the series. And if Zion comes back against OKC, I feel like we'll be very confident to take the series. But I feel very confident without Zion for us to take the series. I definitely feel like the series will go to 6 or 7 games. But I feel like, I know the Pelicans have the depth. The game last night was a great game to watch. They got down at a point, but they didn't stay down too long. You got the energy players like Jose Alvarado, Larry Nance, Herb Jones, and, like, once the crowd get into it in the Smoothie King Arena, and somebody like Brandon Ingram gets hot from the mid range, it's gonna be very difficult to stop the Pelicans, and that's exactly what they did last night. Oh, all over to you, Coach.
Yeah, I'm gonna be truthful. When I found out that Zion wasn't gonna play yesterday against the Kings, I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't think they were gonna be able to get the job done.
Me either.
However, I was happy that they were able to pull it out because I did this radio show this morning. Shout out to Mr. Mitchell in the Louisiana All American Sports Network. I gave him a shout out in my community section. But we talked about this on the radio show this morning, and I didn't think they were gonna pull it out, but I was happy they did. Jonas Valanciunas, I think he's one of the main ingredients that really kind of got him over the hump against the Kings because even if you look at like last year in the playoffs against the Golden State Warriors, like basically, Looney was just giving the Kings all he could handle on the glass. They really couldn't deal with him. And I think, having a big body like Jonas Valanciunas, it really kind of, helped the Pelicans. Trigger Trey played well. Bi, like you said, CJ really didn't do much. And then if you, like you said, you got Grand Theft Alvarado and Larry Nance Jr. Of course, Larry Nance Jr. is not as good as Larry Nance Sr. was, but he a real excellent high energy player off the bench. I think those two players really kind of are the catalyst for what they do coming off the bench. So I was happy that they were able to pull out the win. I think as long as Zion is Zion and he's able to play in this series, I think they beat OKC in maybe 6 or 7 games. But more than anything, if he doesn't play, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna lean towards the Thunder because really last year in the play-in tournament, that was the reason why they couldn't beat OKC because in the first half of that game last year in the play-in tournament, Herb Jones was all over Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but in the second half they made a conscious effort to set a screen on Herb, run some kind of action where there's a down screen, so on and so forth. And they made a conscious effort to free up Shea. Whereas, on the flip side, the Pelicans, they had issues with, Mr. Dating underage girls, Josh Giddey. So they had issues. And early in the game last year, Jonas Valanciunas, he gave the Pelicans like the real competitive advantage on the inside in terms of, having a big body that could post up, that could score the ball, get a lot of rebounds and that type of thing. But once OKC made a conscious effort to surround him with a lot of players and crash the boards and so on and so forth, things just kind of went in OKC's way. So we'll see what's going to happen in the 7-game series. I honestly think they could get by the Thunder, especially if Zion is able to play. Hopefully he can play. We'll see. But, many people saying that they think the Thunder is like the worst number 1 seed ever. That might be a stretch, but this is definitely a winnable series. And like King Ray pointed out, I am glad that they were able to avoid the Denver Nuggets in the first round and play the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's much more of a favorable matchup, especially if they could get Zion back for this series. But, with a bum hammy, it's difficult, but we'll see.
I know hamstring. I know he didn't tear it. I know he pulled it or like he aggravated his hamstring. But I know hamstrings, like, they don't take that long. I actually pulled my hamstring once in football, and we was doing condition drills, and I pulled it, and it felt like a little burn went through my leg, and I told my coach, I was like, man, I think I might have pulled my hamstring. He just told me keep running on it. He was like, you just don't run as hard. Because I pulled it on a Monday. He was like, by Wednesday or Thursday, you'll be good.
Did you play in the game Friday?
Yeah, I did. And I'm not saying his hamstring, because he has a history of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's on the hamstring. It's equivalent to him. But I know he's supposed to be evaluated next week or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty positive he'll be back. That's the whole point of me saying that. I feel like he'll be back if it's just a hamstring. It's not like he tore his Achilles or anything like that.
Well, I don't know from the way they made it sound, they if it was severe enough for him not to play last night, the way they're making it sound like it's a major issue, I don't know if he's gonna be able to play. Hopefully he can. If he plays, I'm definitely going with the Pelicans. Ain't no two ways about it. But him, I think that was the reason why, like I said, OKC beat them in that playing game. Josh Giddey, that's really was kind of Josh Giddey's coming out party. The Thunder got a good young team, but if Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the only, I think that he's the only real superstar player they have on their team. They got a lot of good young talent, but like I said, if you have a healthy Zion, I'm going with the Pels. And honestly, I think he's gonna play in this series. I think the Pels gonna, just to kind of go over our playoff predictions like we normally do. I see the Pels gonna beat them in 6. I'm gonna go with the Cavs against the Magic. I think the Suns gonna get by the Timberwolves. The Knicks and the 76ers are a tough series, but I think if Embiid does what he does and Tyrese Maxey brings his A game, I think they could get by the Then they're gonna get by the Knicks. I'm definitely going with the Nuggets over the Lakers. We saw what the Nuggets did to Lakers last year. I think it's going to be like another sweep type series because they really have no answer for the Joker, especially Jamal Murray is doing what he does. And then, of course, you got Michael Porter Jr. He a big time 3-and-D player. Aaron Gordon, he's one of the few players. Of course, he can't stop LeBron, but he matches up with LeBron better than a lot of other players. So I think the Nuggets are going to take that series. I think the Heat and the Celtics are an interesting series. I'm going with the Celtics on that. Ordinarily, I would lean towards the Clippers over the Mavericks, but the Clippers, they have huge issues every time they play against Luka. So I'm going with the Mavs in that series. I'm going with the Bucks over the Pacers, and that's how I'm rolling. Those are my playoff predictions. In terms of if I had to pick somebody early to win a championship like I did this morning, I'll probably say that the Nuggets are going to repeat if I had to, if I had to go out there on a limb. But it's kind of too early to tell. But those are my early playoff predictions. What about you, King Ray?
I agree with your picks for the first round. That's all of the same picks I will have. But as far as me going with the who I believe will take it all this early, I will go with a team on the East. I'm leaning more towards the Bucks for some reason. I just feel like I don't know. I just have this strange feeling that Giannis and Dame both gonna go off in the playoffs. Yeah, so I got a feeling that Giannis gonna get his second and Dame gonna get his first.
Well, my only issue with that is I think as good a coach as Doc Rivers is, from an offensive standpoint, he really can't seem to get Giannis and Dame Dollar on the same page in terms of, we talked about this morning on the show, and basically a lot of NBA coaches over the years, especially in years past, they were able to incorporate both of their star players, the superstar players, in their offense. And it seems like Doc Rivers is, he having the same issues that Adrian Griffin had, to be truthful. And I think unless he can really incorporate Giannis and Dame Dollar in terms of their pick and roll, seems like their offense they really kind of get it going when the two of them not on the court together. And I think for them to really be able to beat the Celtics or beat any of these really championship caliber teams in the East, I think they have to be able to play together. And it seems like they don't mix well together. They kind of like oil and water. Some kind of way you got to really be able to incorporate the both of them into the offense. And Giannis is not a pick and pop player. And it's like when you put the two of them in pick and roll situations, Giannis is looking to pop instead of roll. He's not that kind of shooter. So I think if you could get a healthy Chris Middleton, a healthy Brook Lopez, you get healthy Brook Lopez, healthy Chris Middleton, Giannis, Dame Dollar. I think if you get Bobby Portis. Of course, he coming off the bench. But my point is, if you get all of these players healthy and on the same page, I think you got something to work with. But I don't think the way Doc Rivers runs his offense, I don't think you're gonna get Dame and Giannis on the same page. I think that's my only issue that's gonna prevent me from picking them. Truthfully speaking, I kind of favor the Celtics in the series over the Bucks because even though it's the same thing with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, it's kind of like my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. It's not like, hey, we run our offense and we kind of feed off each other and we get it going. So it's crazy how those two teams, they kind of suffer for the same affliction in terms of not being able to incorporate both of their star players in the floor of the offense. That's why I favor the Nuggets coming out the West, because Murray and the Joker, they feed off each other. They can kind of play together, whether you have the Joker being your point center or you got Murray running the show. Either way, the two of them could feed off each other. Whereas in the East, Dame Dollar and Giannis don't feed off each other, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum don't feed off each other too. And plus, the Celtics, they're taking tired of too many threes. They take a lot of bad shots. That's the reason why they really couldn't come back and beat
the Heat last year. Yeah. They I ain't gonna lie, they kept ticking me off because I'm like, why y'all taking all these stupid deep threes like that? You know what I'm saying? So I do agree the Celtics do take a lot of bad shots, which is why I didn't pick them to come out the East. Anyway.
Yeah, and that was like the kind of the gist of what we was talking about on the radio show this morning, from the standpoint of, you know, I think that was like the, even though, the Warriors, they lost to the Kings. I think, from a coaching standpoint, even though Steph is a great player, I have to tell my players all the time, like, look, you don't have Steph Curry's genetics. Dale Curry isn't your dad, for one. And second of all, you don't have the resources that Steph Curry had at his disposal in terms of being able to get individualized instruction. A dad who played in the NBA, the money that his dad had, so on and so forth. So you don't have that at your disposal to try to be Steph. And not only that, but I think the thing with the Golden State Warriors, you got a lot of bad NBA teams just jacking up threes. I mean, even you had like somebody like Josh Smith. Even though Josh Smith was an incredible talent when he played for the Hawks, somebody like him, he could not shoot. And instead of him saying, hey, I'm going to work on my post-up game, I'm going to work on my mid-range game, a team like the Golden State Warriors, they had him like jacking up threes. And I'm like, man, that is not your game. And even as a coach, that's one thing I hate about the success of the Warriors. You got teams that can shoot, players that can't shoot, jacking up threes. And it's like, if you're not as proficient as Steph and Clay was at that time, then you shouldn't be doing what they do. So to me, that's the biggest issue. And I think, a lot of these teams fall into that same predicament. And I think the Celtics are one of them, where instead of getting Bron and Tatum going, the Bucks getting Giannis and Dame going, I think that's the reason why I feel like I would favor the Nuggets coming out the West over anybody coming out the East.
Okay, guys, let's move on to open discussion. What do you have for us, Coach?
Well, in my open discussion, I'm gonna talk about what I talked about on my live stream before I get to Southern University 2024 Blue versus Gold spring game. Southern University baseball team, we talked about this on the radio show this morning also. They had it going at one point in the season. They beat LSU early in the season, and in addition to that, they swept Grambling in their series. But recently they lost to Texas Southern, and for them, to make the tournament, they got to beat Texas Southern, and Texas Southern is they're the number one team in the SWAC West as of right now. So Texas Southern has it going. In fact, 30 minutes ago, they were able to kick off play. So hopefully Southern could beat Texas Southern and really get things going, and make it into the college World Series, whatever in terms of the regional tournament, whatever. But we'll see how things play out. But in terms of Southern University, last Saturday, the reason why we didn't have the shows is because I went to Southern University's 2024 Blue versus Gold spring game. In terms of the live stream, I had a lot of people come and check out the live stream. But, I don't know how King Ray feels about this, but, I hate these spring games in terms of the way they score it, where you have essentially the offense versus the defense. I don't know, but, at Donaldsonville, how the way they did it, but I know at Assumption, the way we did it, basically the head coach was neutral, and you would have two assistant coaches. One coach would coach each team, and they would drive players to each team and evenly divide the teams in half, and essentially all the players would get to play. In other instances, most college teams do it the way Southern did it, where, the blue team is your offense and your gold team is the defense. And in terms of offense, all the normal offensive scoring was standard in terms of, a touchdown is 6 points, an extra point is 1 point, a field goal is 3 points. In terms of special teams, there was no special teams except for field goals and extra points, and they had no defense for that. But that normal scoring was standard, but the only one added category, because when I was in school, explosive play was 20 yards or more, but nowadays they consider it to be 15 yards or more. So the offense got 2 points anytime they had an explosive play. And defense, I hate the scoring of it. A tackle for loss is 1 point. A sack is 2 points. A defensive takeaway, our offense turning the ball over on downs is 4 points. and if the defense scores a touchdown, it's 7 points. So that was the setup for the spring game. The main narrative going into the spring game was who's going to be the starting quarterback. Noah was the quarterback that started in the Bayou Classic because Harold Blood was the starter for most of the year last year. The only game he didn't start was the Bayou Classic. He transferred to Mizzou to be with his brother because his brother plays for Mizzou. So Harold Blood is gone. Noah is projected to be the starter. He got the first series. Jalen Woods got the second series. Skylar Verhide, former starting quarterback. Zay Tested, local product. He got the third series. And pretty much they alternated series. Every quarterback got the same amount of snaps for the most part. And pretty much the offense struggled. All the issues Southern had during the course of the year, they were prevalent during the first quarter of the spring game. Both teams had a lot of penalties in terms of, excuse me, the defense jumping off sides a lot, the offense having false start penalties, a couple illegal man downfield penalties or illegal procedure penalties, a lot of drop passes, a handful of instances, quarterbacks throwing the wide receivers out of bounds. So early the game was sloppy. The defense dominated the first quarter. At the end of the first quarter, it was 23-2 in favor of the defense. But, probably about a handful of minutes into the second quarter, the offense exploded. They kind of really went on a run. And at halftime, the score was 52-31 in favor of the offense. So things kind of turned around quickly. I don't know if it was because the offense got a rhythm. Because, I don't know if people understand, like, for a quarterback, it's hard to get in sync get in rhythm when every series you got to have a different quarterback. And then the defense, they only had a certain amount of players that played, whereas offense, you got a lot of fresh bodies coming in. So maybe it was the fact that the offense got in rhythm or the defense wore down. I think it was a combination of the two. But either way, it was a pretty good blue versus gold spring game. Me personally, if it was me, I would let Noah be the starting quarterback. Jalen Woods would be the backup. Zay Tested would be third string, but I would have a package for him since he's like the most athletic of the three quarterbacks. But he did make the most mistakes. And in terms of his mechanics, I think he's the worst of the three. But, that's kind of my overall impressions of the Southern University's 2024 blue versus gold spring game. And one last point, Bayou Classic tickets went on sale yesterday. So, it's going to kind of be interesting to see what Southern University football does for this upcoming season.
Okay, Ray, do you have any open discussions?
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about the WNBA draft and
Oh, Ray, you hit me what I was gonna hit. Go ahead.
yeah, and just everything surrounding the WNBA. And I was kind of, and I'm gonna just not say the WNBA, women's basketball. Like I knew this as of last year. Like I just based off the wisdom that I got, I'm like, man, the women's game is gonna grow. It's gonna come with a lot of pros, but even more cons to it. And I didn't watch the draft. I wanted to, but I didn't get a chance to watch the WNBA draft. But I seen clips of it. I seen with Angel Reese, Camila Cardosa, and them two teaming up, being on the same team. So that'll be a really great game to watch. That you got Caitlin Clark, teaming up with Leah Boston, with the Indiana Fevers. So it's like they have some good duos. They got names. And with that being said, ticket prices have went up. I went to 3 WNBA games last year. 3. So I'm somebody that supported. You got some people that be saying the women's need to get paid just as much as the men's, and it's like y'all not supporting them. It's like that's basic economy. The revenue. If nobody's not going to these WNBA games or watching the games, it's like they're not gonna make enough money to pay the women. So it's not a gender gap. It's more of, hey, support the women. Everybody want to go in the comment section and be like, women, the WNBA players should get paid as much as the NBA players. And it's like, how about y'all stop commenting, go open up your pocketbook and go buy tickets to WNBA games so the prices could go up. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because the prices did go up. Man, last year I paid like $70 for a WNBA ticket. Me and one of my friends tried to go buy a ticket for a WNBA game. And that mug was $300. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this mug is in full effect. They got a bunch of national TV games for the WNBA. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. The women's game is it's big again. I know in times past we kind of talked about it. When Cheryl Swoops, and some of the bigger names, Lisa Leslie, when all them was playing, the WNBA was like, it made noise, but after a couple of years, it dwindled down, and it was like forgotten about. So now the WNBA is back on the rise. The women's game is back on the rise. You know, and we just got to see how it's gonna pan out. And we might, Caitlin Clark is America's sweetheart, but she got to play her role, and the veterans got to accept that. Angel Reese, she might be that, that strong, outspoken black woman that some people might not like, but guess what? She got to play her role. What do I mean? It's going to attract a diversity of people. You're going to have certain parts of America that's going to watch the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark. You're going to have other parts of America that's going to watch the WNBA because of Angel Reese. Then you can make the WNBA even more international. They got international players already in the WNBA, but you got people like a person like Camila Cardoso, who's from Brazil, and it's like it's like a basketball eclipse for the WNBA. You got these big major stars all coming into the WNBA at the same time. So I'm just curious to see how this is gonna pan out over the years. Hopefully they could capitalize, which they are. They're capitalizing on all of their names. So yeah, I'm just curious to see how this is gonna pan out. Hopefully, the women's game could continue to grow. And one thing I want to throw out, and I want to know if y'all think this is a good idea. Do y'all think the WNBA, and I know they kind of are already, but from a name wise, do y'all think the WNBA should be under the same banner as the NBA? Meaning that you shouldn't call it the WNBA, you should just call it the NBA, because National Basketball Association has no reference to a gender. So it's like it could be women playing basketball, it's still the National Basketball Association. That's probably something minor, but how do y'all feel about that?
You want to go first, Kay?
You can go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna be truthful, King Ray. I think doing that it would be a bit of overkill because, truthfully speaking, they already kind of under the NBA banner. The only difference is you kind of have to differentiate men and women because if they're all under the same banner, what if all of a sudden LeBron James disappeared in a WNBA game? It's like, come on, man, that wouldn't be fair. So at the end of the day, uh, essentially the NBA is bankrolling the WNBA. So I think you kind of have to make the distinction. The WNBA and the NBA, I don't think they could all play under the same NBA umbrella. To a certain degree, they kind of already are, like you said. So yeah, so you have to kind of make a distinction. This is our women's league, and this is our men's league. You can't put them all under the same umbrella. That really, can't do that.
I understand what Ray is trying to say, and what would be the ultimate goal for it, to get them more publicity and more revenue as well. But Coach has a point, that it's it's a bit much, and I feel like they need to find something that would help them to really, because I know people don't support women like they need to, and I know that's the ultimate goal, to get things going like Ray wants. But I think they need that distinction. They need those separate entities for you to distinguish the men and the women. Because what if someone shows up to a game and they're expecting something more, and they're not getting one? You're gonna have some angry fans, or whatever the case may be. It's hard to really maneuver that. You have to basically give them their separate space. That's just my thought. um anything else?
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Well, first and foremost, we talked about this morning on the radio show. First and foremost, in terms of the WNBA draft, just like we expected, Caitlin Clark, she went number one. She went number one overall to the Indiana Fever, and the focus and the highlight of the draft was Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And, I said this morning, Gilbert Arenas had already pointed out on his platform, Gil's Arena, but for Angel Reese to have one more year of eligibility left, due to COVID, players have an extra year eligibility, but she had an extra year eligibility left, and for her to forego her last year eligibility, where she knew she was going to get at least 1.5 million in NIL money, maybe even more, for her to forego that final season to enter the WNBA draft. She knew she either was going to go number 2 overall to the LA Sparks, or she knew she was going to end up in Chicago, one of those. So basically, she knew she was going to end up in one of those 2 big markets. Now, the host this morning for the show, he was basically saying, like, he's surprised the Washington Mystics didn't get her. Even though she's from Baltimore, I know she would be a big draw, in her home area, even though, DC and Baltimore, it's not that far apart, but
DMV.
Yeah, DMV area. But I think the thing about it is, I think somebody with her name and her status, I think she needs to be in a big market. And I think Chicago is a big market for her. Even though with the number 2 pick, the Sparks, I think they really was trying to get the best player they could available at that particular position. I'm going to be truthful. A market of that size and of that magnitude, I think maybe they should have went with the star power of Angel Reese. Even though she might not have been able to help him on the court as much, I think she, in terms of star power, I think she would have helped the franchise, kind of be like the equivalent to a Candace Parker, a Lisa Leslie, so on and so forth. And, I think one of the major issues the WNBA had, because, we talked about this on past shows. You look at somebody like Maya Moore. She was a far bigger star in college than she ever was in the WNBA. Same with Candace Parker. She was a far bigger star at Tennessee than she ever was in the WNBA. Skylar Diggins was a far bigger star in the college game than she ever was in the WNBA. At this point, the WNBA, they need to hitch their wagons to Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. They really kind of need to push this rivalry, kind of like Magic Bird type rivalry. And in addition to that, I think in terms of the U.S. Olympic women's team, they need to put, whether they play or not, they need to put Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and they even need to put Juju on that team. They need those 3 players on that team. And in the past, they pushed their brand more than they actually pushed the star players. I think they need to break away from that model and push the star players more so than the brand, because, at one point, the WWE, in like the 80s and stuff, you had Hulk Hogan was like the superstar wrestler. Then they got to a point where they start pushing their brand more than they push the stars. And then the UFC kind of bypassed them in terms of ratings and everything and so on and so forth. Because the UFC was pushing people like John Jones and Conor McGregor and Daniel Cormier, so on and so forth. So I think the WNBA needs to push that, get away from the model where they push the league, and they need to push individual stars. Because even if you look at the NBA was literally on their dying days. Had the Magic Bird rivalry not been what it was, it really kind of gave the NBA a shot in the arm and took the NBA to a whole nother stratosphere. And then Jordan took it even further. Then they continue to push superstars like Kobe and LeBron and KD and so on and so forth. The WNBA needs to do the same thing. They need to push stars instead of the league. Because just think about it. At one point, the best WNBA team I ever saw was the Houston Comets with Cheryl Swoops and Cynthia Cooper and Tina Thompson. And to me, that's the best WNBA team I've ever seen. And they ended up folding. Just imagine if the Lakers or the Celtics had to close up shop because they wasn't making enough money to keep their doors open. I mean, so that says a lot about the WNBA. I think they really need to push Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and they need to push whenever Juju gets there. They need to start pushing her now. They need to hitch their wagons to the star players and not push the brand more than the players, But that's my take on the WNBA draft, and the reason why a lot of these feminists push the pay gap in between the NBA and the WNBA, like King Ray was saying. Basically, You can't afford to pay WNBA players as much money as you pay NBA players when they don't make no money. Really, if it wouldn't be for the NBA, the WNBA would be closed the way the NBL was closed. So at the end of the day, like you really need to push the stars most in the league itself. They need to do something to take their league to the next level, so they could stand on their own and function without the NBA's financial backing. But that's all I have. Okay, back to you, boo.
Okay, guys, let's move on to fact or cap. Let's start off with you, Coach. Fact or cap?
All right, my factor cap. Now, kind of continuing on with the WNBA theme. The second HBCU player that has ever been drafted to the WNBA, Andrew Jackson from Jackson State. She's only the second player from the HBCU realm to get drafted to the WNBA. The crazy thing about it, she was drafted, Angel Jackson from Jackson State. Major shout out to her. I hope she makes the team, but it's going to be a difficult hill for her to climb because she got drafted to, the WNBA champs, the Las Vegas Aces. So, factor cap, do you think Andrew Jackson is going to make the Las Vegas Aces team? Factor cap.
I say cap.
Can you elaborate just a little bit for us, Kingway?
I say cap because you kind of already started touching on it, and just even going off of what I know from last year, man. You had some dogs, some girls that was dogs that got drafted last year that got cut. I remember Alexis Morris off that LSU championship team. She got drafted and they cut her. Bria Bill, who was one of the best defenders last year on South Carolina, she got drafted and she got cut. And the Aces just picked her up this year, but there ain't no guarantee that she gonna stay on the team for the Aces. And I feel like that's also a big issue for the WNBA, which they're talking about doing, but they need expansion. They got too many good players that's not even on the team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it has nothing to do with the fact that she's not a good player. It has nothing to do with the fact that she came from the HBCU. It's just the fact to do with capacity. They don't have the capacity to have all these good players, which and I feel like that's a burner as well. Like that's a bad thing. It's like you got to make room for like a lot of these names to be on somebody's team. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's why I'm saying it's cap because man, that squad loaded. You know what I'm saying? Like they won back-to-back WNBA titles. I mean, if she do make the team, she might not see the court too much, but I say cap. I don't really think she's gonna make the team.
That's an amazing point, King Ray. I mean, that's why you're on the show. I mean, that's an excellent analysis in terms of evaluating the situation.
Okay, King Ray, do you have any fact or cap?
Fact or cap? The Saints will draft a quarterback in this year's draft.
Honestly, I hope it's a fact, King Ray, but truthfully speaking, it's cap. The reason being because they have so much money invested in Derek Carr.
Used car?
Huh?
The used car?
Used car, that's all he is. I mean, I hate to say it, he a trash bag at this point. But truthfully speaking, I think they need a good solid backup. And truthfully speaking, in my opinion, I think they need an heir apparent that's going to replace him as the starting quarterback at some point. You and I were talking about behind the scenes how they should get Michael Penix Jr. I think it's the perfect fit, the perfect landing spot for him. I hope they get him, but truthfully speaking, I don't see it. Maybe they could get a quarterback in later rounds. I saw them taking, a quarterback in the later rounds, but I mean, if this quarterback they get in the later rounds not a dog, more than likely they're not even going to make the roster. So in terms of them drafting a quarterback, I think it's cap.
Okay, guys. Any other fact or caps?
That's it for me, Kay.
That's it for me, Kay.
All right, let's move on to the NFL. What do you have for us, Ray?
The draft it's kind of been storming all day while I'm at. I don't know if y'all heard that or not.
Yeah.
Yes, we heard it. Just be safe.
I ain't trust me. I ain't going no other day. I was supposed to, but I mean, I don't got nothing to do with this show, so let me not get off subject. Yeah, what I was about to say, just pertaining to the Saints. Come on, Raymond. Come on, brain. Think. Uh, oh, the draft. The draft is next week, right? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah.
Yeah. So just I mean that's why my focus at. Personally, we ain't really hit the Saints didn't really make too much of noise this off season, other than the signing with Chase Young, but that's kind of like that much, not that much either, you know. But yeah, just waiting to see what they do in the draft. I don't have high expectations. Year in and year out, the Saints do what they do and they tick all the fans off. I feel like the Saints live for it. So it's like, Coach, I'm telling you, I feel like Michael Penix Jr. will be there for us to draft in the second round. Everybody gonna be on social media. It's like, man, could this be it? Could the Saints finally draft Michael Penix Jr. and he potentially be our new franchise quarterback? And then they draft some offensive lineman or some defensive player from like a community college or something like that. Like,
Why are you so silly?
I think it's good for it. They always do it. So I'm like, man, I wonder, what the Saints gonna do this year. But man, I don't even care. I feel like it's kind of too early. I mean, it's really never too early, but the reason why I'm saying it's too early for us to kind of start looking towards the season is because the draft hasn't come yet. So once we get through the draft and we fully see what type of team we got, maybe we could try to like speculate and put case scenarios together in our head. But man, I'm just looking at the draft and see how good they draft. But to be fair, you never know how good a draft class is until the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a draft class might look trash at the beginning of the season, but then towards the end of the season, all the dudes play spectacular. You got some draft classes where it's like you drafted all the big names and the top guys, but they all end up being busts. So, let's just see what they do in the draft and hopefully they make some good decisions.
Yes. Coach, what are
Uh,
your
I'm I'm gonna
thoughts?
echo some of the same sentiments King Ray did. First and foremost, the biggest areas of need for the Saints in this coming draft, next week's draft, is offensive and defensive line. But he's right. I think they need an heir apparent to Derek Carr because Derek Carr is not the answer. I don't care what nobody say. I think as a human being, I think he's a good person from all I see, a good, strong Christian guy. However, as a quarterback, he leaves a lot to be desired. Uh, he's by no stretch of the imagination. Uh, he's no by no stretch of the imagination is he Drew Brees, or is he even Jeff Blake when he was at the top of his game for the Saints, or he's not an Archie Manning at the top of his game.
That's before my time, Coach.
Yeah, actually, Archie Manning is before my time also.
I don't even know
And
who Jeff Blake is.
you don't know Jeff Blake used to play for the Cincinnati Bengals?
No, the earliest Saints quarterback I remember is Aaron Brooks. That's it.
Well, Aaron Brooks beat out Jeff Blake to be the starting quarterback because uh, Jeff Blake, he was the man for the Cincinnati Bengals. He was the starting quarterback. And what transpired is the Saints ended up getting him in free agency. And I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the issues the Saints had. They would get all these faded, washed up quarterbacks like Jim Everett, who was like all world when he played for the Rams. Then he come to the Saints, and he literally a shell of what he was. So the Saints were synonymous for getting all of these washed up quarterbacks that's in the twilight of their career, like one foot in retirement and the other foot in the grave. They were synonymous for getting those type of guys. And they got Jeff Blake. And man, Jeff Blake was a dog with the Bengals. He came to the Saints and he was doing good. He got hurt. And his third string quarterback that went to the University of Virginia, his name was Aaron Brooks. He was a dog. And he beat out Jeff Blake. And I'm like, man, this dude could be the best quarterback the Saints ever had. And of course, eventually, the clock struck midnight and the carriage turned into a pumpkin. And basically, he went from being sugar to being, if you know what I mean, and he doing stupid stuff, like dropping back the pass and the defensive lineman throw it, turning him around. He throwing the ball back into like 30 yards and coming running off the field smiling. And I understood that was his defense mechanism. He really was upset, but instead of him frowning or pouting, like he was smile. I understand that was a defense mechanism, but the optics of that particular situation. It looked bad for Saints fans like myself. It made him look like he didn't care. Eventually ended up getting rid of him. Like the only like real elite franchise Saints quarterback that you saw in your lifetime was Drew Brees. And I think at this point, he the only quarterback that brought the Saints to Super Bowl. And I think until we get another quarterback on that level, every other quarterback is going to be compared to Drew Brees. And Derek Carr, he leaves a lot to be desired. So hopefully they can get somebody like a Michael Penix Jr. Hopefully they can address the issues they have on the offensive line. Because I hate to say it, them letting Teron Armstead ride was a big deal. Even though he was injury prone, they needed to let him go. They hadn't replaced him. Andrews Pete. Anytime they talk about get him back on the offensive line, that tells you how bad the offensive line situation is. So hopefully they could draft the right offensive lineman. Hopefully they could draft the right defensive lineman. But like you said, you really can't evaluate a draft class at the end of the season. In some instances, even a handful of years down the line. But at the end of the day, like you said, I really don't have no high hopes or high expectations for this draft because the Saints always do something stupid to disappoint the fans in terms of the draft. But hopefully they get things together. To me, as a Saints fan, it's kind of do or die situation for Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. To me, if they don't make the playoffs, I think you get rid of both of them.
And the problem is, will they do that regardless of what may arise? Will they stand behind that? So that's
they probably won't because you got a lot of bad money invested in Derek Carr. I mean, if they get rid of him, we talked about how the Denver Broncos, they took the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history by getting rid of Russell Wilson, $85 million in dead cap. Basically, the Saints will probably be operating with half of that dead cap hit that the Broncos took this year. So we talking about upwards to like 30-something to $40 million in dead cap money. The Saints cap situation, that's part of the reason why they didn't make no moves in the offseason because they really don't have no money to dispose in terms of free agency. But in addition to that, it's like they're not in a position to really let him ride. So I don't think they're going to get rid of him. You know what I'm saying?
correct. Ray, do you have anything else?
No, that's it for me. I got
Coach?
my.
Oh no, that's it for me too. Okay.
Okay, guys. It's been a good show. I want to give shout out to J Bar. Shout out to Joseph Townsend.
Big Joe Townsend, baby.
Uh, Shout out to Jared O. 11 Green. Shout out to Big Reg. Shout out to Locker Room Talk. Oh, that's Coach.
Yeah, that's
Okay. Shout out to Story Time. Shout out to Relaxing Calm Rain. Shout out to everyone who was tuned in, whether
Motivation
it was for a
Kid.
short period of time or
yeah.
whatever. We appreciate your love and your support. Please like, subscribe, share, tell someone, let them know about the Bayou Sports Talk. So, with closing, let's start off with you, Coach. Tell them how they can uh, follow you, how they can stay up to date with things.
Well, first and foremost, you can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms, on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. I have a Facebook group, Coach 67 Sports TV. So you catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I'm primarily here on YouTube. I want to give a major shout out to the Louisiana All-American Sports Network. I was on their radio show this morning, the Louisiana All-American Sports Show, with my coworker and friend, Mr. Mitchell. Appreciate y'all for having me on the radio show this morning. Essentially, we talked about pretty much, for the exception of the draft, we talked about all the same topics last week. We talked about all the same topics today that we did this morning. So, shout out to the Louisiana All-American Sports Network here on YouTube. I shouted them out in the community section of my channel. Also, shout out to my brother. Go check him out. My brother, Brent Fox. He did a special Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia breakdown in terms of demonstration on a heavy bag. So y'all go check out my brother Brent Fox, and also check out my brother Jared 11 Green tomorrow, himself, his twin JB, the brother Big Joe Townsend, Brent Fox. You know, maybe Jay Good might be on there, but we gonna have another edition of the Southern Baller Show tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow night. So y'all check us out. We appreciate everybody that came through, that showed us some love, that's been rocking with us. You know, we major shout out to Motivation to Be a Millionaire, Relaxing Calm Rain, Jay Barr, Big Reg, Jared 11 Green, Big Joe, everybody that came through to show some love. You know, we appreciate y'all. We appreciate everybody that's gonna watch the playback. You know, we appreciate y'all, and you know, look forward to some more Southern University content, because you know that's the thing that really do the big numbers here on this particular channel. So you know, I'm getting ready to drop a couple Southern University videos. So y'all stay tuned. We appreciate everybody. Peace and blessing to all y'all. Hopefully y'all have a blessed, phenomenal evening, blessed, phenomenal weekend and work week to come. Peace and blessings.
Okay. And Ray, how can everyone um follow you and whatnot?
So yeah, y'all know my YouTube right there at the bottom of the screen. I know, so go, subscribe and check out the content. There's also underscore King Ray on IG, followed by another underscore. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen. So go check out my content and stuff. Just enjoyed the panel today, enjoyed the viewers today, just enjoyed the conversation today, and just praying peace and blessings over all the viewers and everybody who participates and makes this show the great show that it is.
All right, guys. It has been a great show. And as a closing remark, we want to close with the quote, and we're going to close with the quote from that says, never give up, never give in, and when the upper hand is ours, may we have the ability to handle the wind with the indignate excuse me indignity that we absorb the loss. So guys, y'all have a great evening. I thank y'all for watching. I thank y'all for being here. Y'all have a great day. Till we meet again. Bye bye.
Peace.